Let's go to number two, Mike. CIA creating a fake Twitter in Cuba? Wait, what?
Yes, so this is another one of these CIA scandals during the Obama administration. And this one is really amazing because it just speaks to so many different levels of the Truman Show that can get created around your life, where you think everyone you meet is, your friend or a random stranger when it's, indeed an entire structure around you can be a careful creation of U.S. operation. So what happened in the ZunZuneo scandal is Cuba had banned Twitter in the late 2000s because they were concerned that it was that U.S. social media was a tool of the U.S. state in order to turn Cubans against their government. Now, by the way, I don't like the Cuban government. I'm as anti-communist as they come. This is not to, when I break down this scandal, this is not to be sympathetic to communist governments. This is only so that you sort of KYC, you sort of know your customer when it comes to what the CIA and its spinouts do. So in 2011, the Arab Spring was well underway, where the U.S. was in the process of using Twitter and Facebook to topple governments around the world, particularly Middle East, North Africa. We were about 5 years into this CIA State Department digital diplomacy initiative, which was this idea that you could run CIA operations not just out of U.S. embassies and consulates and CIA station houses, but that you could actually run operations online through social media, because everyone you want to recruit for street protests or to raid the presidential palace in a color revolution could be recruited on Facebook and could be mobilized in Twitter hashtags or could be mobilized through viral YouTube videos. And so while the Arab Spring was going on in Tunisia and Egypt, and this was extremely successful in Middle East, North Africa, the State Department got the brilliant idea that they could bring about a Cuban Spring in Cuba if only they could get U.S. social media platforms into the country. And so what the CIA did through USAID is they took these humanitarian relief funds that were earmarked by USAID for Pakistan, and they redirected them through a Byzantine set of shell companies to be delegated to this private sector CIA contractor called Creative Artists International, or Creative Associates International, CAI, not CIA, CAI. And what CAI did under the direction of USAID and the Central Intelligence Agency is they created a direct Twitter knockoff, literally copied the exact user interface of Twitter. At one point in the scandal, the State Department actually directly reached out to Jack Dorsey to help co-run it. Jack Dorsey reportedly declined, and so they descended on Cuba using the front of being two music promoters at Creative Associates International to convince Cuban nationals to run this in order to evade the scrutiny of the Cuban government. So it would look like it was a Cuban social media company set up by Cubans rather than a CIA operation using funds earmarked for Pakistan, then transferred to a CIA contractor, and then transferred to friendly Cubans in Cuba. And so ZunZuneo means mockingbird, or means hummingbird. So basically, they took the Twitter bird idea. They took the like button, the retweet button. They took the same user interface, and they recruited about 60,000 Cubans onto this platform. And the documents, I can actually read some of the direct quotes here because it's just incredibly shocking how devious this whole thing went down. So there was a surveillance dimension to this CIA social media Twitter knockoff, where they collected a vast database. I'm reading a direct quote: a vast database of Cuban ZunZuneo subscribers, including their age, gender, and receptiveness and political tendencies to be built in the future. And this is according to these leaked documents that you can find online. These are now, leaked USAID documents. They created a database of every user's political tendencies for political purposes in order to use that data to micro-target efforts towards anti and pro-government users. So basically, they segmented all of the users according to data to how receptive each user would be to programming and algorithms in their news feed to form what they called smart mobs. That is, to form rent-a-riots if they were given programming to meet up and join this protest. And so they initially lulled people to the platform. The way they got 60,000 users in the first place in Cuba is, according to the USAID documents, is they started with non-controversial content such as sports, music, and hurricane updates to build up subscribers, and then introduced political messaging to encourage smart mobs and anti-government dissent. So basically, they knew that if the algorithms favored overthrowing the government from Jump Street, nobody would join. But if they safely got hundreds of thousands, which was their goal, of people to the platform, and then once they were already on and locked in and dependent on it, they switched up the algorithms to promote anti-government sentiment, to get them to hate their government, to get them to take to the streets and riot, that they'd be locked in a captive audience to do so. So if they're doing that with Cuban Twitter, I think this goes a long way towards explaining the era we just went through with the massive CIA infiltration of actual Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, where a huge chunk of the trust and safety team in all three of the U.S. major social media companies came to be infiltrated by folks with direct ties to the Central Intelligence Agency.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.